Everyone has an opinion about 45 ACP. The 9mm crowd says it is dead, too heavy, too few rounds, too much recoil, outdated technology from a century ago that modern ammunition has made irrelevant. Every YouTube channel with a ballistics gel video has been burying 45 ACP for the last 10 years. Here is what nobody is saying out loud. The people who actually carry 45 ACP in 2026 are not carrying it because they did not get the memo. They are carrying it because they ran the numbers, shot both calibers, and made a deliberate choice that the 9mm crowd does not want to acknowledge. Today, we are telling you the truth about 45 ACP that nobody on YouTube will say out loud in 2026. Not the marketing truth, not the ballistics gel truth. The real-world truth that real carriers have discovered after years of actually carrying both calibers. What you are about to hear is going to make the 9mm loyalist in the comments section furious, and it is going to make every 45 ACP carriers watching this feel like someone finally said what they have been thinking for years. Let's get into it. The debate was never actually settled. Every 9mm channel will tell you the stopping power debate is settled. Modern 9mm ammunition closed the gap. The FBI switched to 9mm. The science is done. Here's what they are not telling you. The FBI switched to 9mm primarily because of reduced recoil, higher capacity, and the ability to qualify more agents more consistently. Not because 9mm terminal performance matched 45 ACP. Because the practical advantages of 9mm for a large organization with widely varying shooter skill levels outweighed the terminal performance difference. That calculation makes complete sense for a federal agency managing thousands of agents across every skill level. It does not automatically apply to a single experienced shooter who trains regularly and carries one gun. Real carriers who have switched between calibers and paid attention to what the data actually says report a consistent finding. Modern 45 ACP defensive ammunition from premium manufacturers produces wound channels that experienced emergency room physicians consistently describe as more immediately incapacitating than comparable 9mm loads. The science does not say 9mm matches 45 ACP. It says 9mm is good enough for most situations. Good enough and equal are not the same thing. The truth nobody is saying out loud is that the stopping power debate was never actually settled. It was declared settled by people who had already chosen 9mm. Capacity is more theoretical than you think. The 9mm crowd's strongest argument is capacity. 15 rounds versus 7. No contest. More rounds means more options. More options means better outcomes. Here's the number nobody talks about. The average defensive encounter involves fewer than 3 rounds fired. Not 15, not 7, 3. That number comes from documented real-world incident analysis across decades of defensive shooting data. The overwhelming majority of defensive encounters end before any carry pistol runs out of ammunition, regardless of caliber. Real carriers who examine this data and switch to 45 ACP report the same reasoning. If the realistic scenario involves 3 rounds or fewer, the capacity difference between 7+1 and 15+1 is largely theoretical. What changes the outcome is not how many rounds you have left after the encounter. It is whether the rounds you fired ended the threat decisively. The truth nobody is saying out loud is that capacity matters enormously for edge case scenarios, and very little for the statistical center of what defensive carry actually looks like in real life. Recoil is a training problem. Full stop. The 9mm crowd's second strongest argument is recoil management. 9mm shooters can fire faster follow-up shots more accurately. The physics are undeniable. Less recoil means faster recovery. Faster recovery means more rounds on target in less time. Here's what they are not telling you. Every recoil argument assumes equal training time. It assumes a shooter who has spent 100 hours training with 9mm is being compared directly to a shooter who has spent 100 hours training with 45 ACP. That is not the comparison being made in most YouTube ballistics videos. Most comparisons test 9mm proficiency against theoretical 45 ACP recoil, not against trained 45 ACP proficiency. Real carriers who have invested equivalent training time in 45 ACP consistently report a follow-up shot accuracy that surprises 9mm shooters watching them at the range. A trained 45 ACP shooter is not fighting the recoil. They have integrated it. The gun comes back to the same position because they have built the muscle memory to make it come back to the same position. The truth nobody is saying out loud is that recoil is a training problem that disappears with training time. Capacity is a fixed number that does not change regardless of how much you train. The platforms are genuinely excellent. The caliber argument often ignores the platform argument entirely. The question is never just which bullet is better. The question is which complete system, gun plus ammunition plus shooter, delivers the best outcome. 45 ACP platforms in 2026 include the Springfield Armory TRP, the Wilson Combat EDCX9, in 45 ACP, the Glock 30 Gen 4, the HK45 Compact, and the entire 1911 family from entry-level Rock Island to custom shop Wilson and Nighthawk. These are not compromised platforms built around a compromised caliber. They are some of the finest handguns ever produced, chambered in a caliber that was designed to end conflicts immediately. Real carriers who choose 45 ACP are often choosing it specifically because the platforms chambered in it represent the highest level of handgun engineering available. The Wilson Combat Trigger in 45 ACP is not available in 9mm at the same price point. The 1911 Manual of Arms that decades of military and civilian shooters have trained on is not replicated in any 9mm platform. The truth nobody is saying out loud is that choosing 45 ACP sometimes means choosing the better platform, not just the bigger bullet. The carriers who stayed know something. Here is the truth that the 9mm crowd finds most uncomfortable. The carriers who still choose 45 ACP in 2026 are not uninformed. They are not behind the curve. They are not carrying grandpa's caliber out of sentiment or stubbornness. They are disproportionately experienced shooters, long-term carriers, people who have spent years evaluating their carry system and making deliberate choices at every step. The demographic of 45 ACP carriers in 2026 skews toward more training time, more carry experience, and more informed decision-making than the 9mm crowd's dismissive characterization suggests. Real carriers who have spent time with both calibers and chosen 45 ACP are not choosing it despite the data. They are choosing it because of their honest evaluation of what the data actually says versus what the 9mm conversion narrative wants the data to say. The truth nobody is saying out loud is that the smartest, most experienced carry community in America still includes a significant percentage of dedicated 45 ACP carriers who are not confused. They are correct. That is the truth about 45 ACP that nobody is saying out loud in 2026. Not that 45 ACP is better than 9mm in every situation for every shooter. It is not. Not that capacity does not matter. It does. Not that recoil is irrelevant. It is not. The truth is that 45 ACP is a legitimate, defensible, intelligent carry choice for experienced shooters who have done their homework. The narrative that it is obsolete is wrong. The narrative that the debate is settled is wrong. And the carriers who choose it in 2026 are making a choice that deserves more respect than the algorithm has been giving it. Hit that like button if this video said something the rest of YouTube will not. Subscribe for honest carry content that does not follow the algorithm. Drop a comment telling us what you carry and whether you think 45 ACP deserves its reputation or has been unfairly dismissed. Stay safe. Stay trained. Carry what you have actually decided is right, not what YouTube decided for you.